Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhino Exploration. This morning we are going to be doing the walk around of our new vehicle that we have got. I promised you guys a couple weeks ago that we'd do a walk around video. I've got it all registered, everything like that. So today is the day we are going to be doing that walk around video, so stay tuned. Alright guys, so here's our new vehicle. Here she is. It is cold out here. I'm going to start by saying that it's like 27 degrees out here. So we are out here filming, having some fun, but it is cold, so I'm going to apologize. But here she is. This is the 1969 Dodge D100 custom pickup truck that I bought a couple weeks ago that I showed you guys at the end of our adventure out in Boulder. So what we're going to do today is we're going to walk around it. I'm going to show you some of the features from that year, what the truck has, because this truck is almost completely stock still from 1969. And then I'm going to explain to you guys kind of what the upgrades are that I have planned for the future and some other things that we got going on for the truck. But that'll be towards the end of the video. So let's get started up here at the front. Alright guys, up here at the front of the truck we have certain features that had changed in 1969. One of the biggest features that changed from 68 to 69 was the top of the hood. So before they had these little metal hood louvers off to the side here and just this line that came down the middle of the truck. In 69 they kind of ditched all that and they redid it. So they kept this line coming down the truck, but they kind of raised this off and got rid of the hood louvers. So it's kind of got this little cowl indent right here, and they made it kind of more sleek, and it's kind of the design that Dodge kept with over the next 20 something years to what they are today. Going down we have the Dodge logo here because this was a actual Dodge truck. They didn't have Ram back then. This was a Dodge truck by the Chrysler company. And then we have this grill. Now back in 1967, 1968, somewhere between those years they changed the grill. So before it just had these straight lines that came across it, and the blinker lights were these little round circles, a little smaller than the headlights. So here they've kept the round headlights, but they came out with the more rectangular blinker lights, and they stuck them sideways and near the lights more, and then they put actual indents into the grill with just one line instead of multiple. Now yes, here on my truck, the top of the grill is a little bent up. I'm going to try and fix it as best I can, but to me it doesn't look too bad. So we're keep it for now like this. And then you have the typical bumper that it came with. Now like I said before, that this truck is pretty much bone stock still. I am the third owner of this truck. The guy I bought it from the original owner. So not a whole lot has been changed. Certain things, yes, have been upgraded, but it is still pretty much stock. Like the windshield is in good shape. I think there's like one crack in the windshield or a little chip that they filled a long time ago and it still works. The wipers work, the headlights, everything works. Now don't get me wrong, the headlights are like glowworms in jam jars. You can't see anything whatsoever. But they do work, which is a good thing. So we can always update the headlights, which I do have planned to do. So let's pop open the hood and let's see what keeps this baby running. So like all old trucks, you open the hood from here. You don't go inside to do it. So you open it. This truck, you get a little push, and it's got a safety latch right here. Open it up. And as you guys can see, this hood is massive. And that was the cool thing about the old vehicles way back then. Yeah, so they were all made of steel. They were like driving a big old tank. They were really, strong. Safety features weren't really there. And they had like a mile-long hood in both directions. So, but it's great. This opens up like that. There's no struts holding it up. And these are the original hood levers that help hold it up. And they're still working great. Alright, so under the hood are the Chrysler LA 318. It is the stock 318 that this thing came with. Now, back in the day, the 318, brand new in 1969, came out with 230 horsepower. I guarantee you, probably about a good 100, if not maybe a little more of them horses have vanished over the years. But as you can see, the previous owner kept it really nice. He upgraded some things, so you know, he upgraded the gaskets, he upgraded the hoses, belts, he's got a new alternator on here. Now when I bought the truck, the air cleaner, wasn't there. And the owner that I bought it from, he didn't have an air cleaner for it. He didn't have an air cleaner for it. And this thing has the original 2-barrel carb from 1969 that's got a little diameter opening that's just over 2 inches big. It is impossible just about to find a air cleaner that fits that carburetor. Now, I scoured the internet, and yes, I could have been looking in the wrong spots, but I scoured the internet trying to find it, and I couldn't. So I had to create my own. So this is an air cleaner for either a more modern day 2-barrel carb or a 4-barrel carb, and I had to buy an adapter that would fit on top of this, that then would fit on top of the carburetor, so that this thing would have an air cleaner on it. And then I had to add some washers up here for now until I can get the new screw part that the air cleaner sits on top of stock. So this thing has drum brakes all the way around, and it stops like an old farm truck. You know, you better leave some good distance between you and the vehicle in front of you, because she doesn't stop on a dime. The other thing about her is she is Armstrong steering. That's right, she has no power steering whatsoever. So while driving in motion, it's great. You know, you can control the truck. It's pretty easy. It's got quite a bit of play in the steering wheel. But then if you come to a stop, you're going to be doing some arm muscling to get that thing to turn, because she don't turn very nicely when she stopped. All right, guys, now onto the side of the truck. We're going to kind of talk about the suspension, the wheels, the tires, and things. So this thing, as you can tell, is at stock height. They have not raised it, they have not lowered it, and I'm very thankful that they never did that. But it still is at stock height. Now, they have upgraded some of the suspension components, you know, the shocks, things like that over the years. So she does ride a little bit nicer. And then they do have these aftermarket wheels and tires. I'm going to be honest, I really don't like these wheels. Eventually we will change those out, but for now, they work. And the tires are in pretty good shape. But as you can see here, you have the kind of squared off wheel arches. You got plenty of clearance. And then off to the side here, we have the original Dodge badge with the D100. And up here underneath the window, we have the Customs logo that came with certain types of Dodges, because some of them were custom trucks that were, you know, more designed for being able to put campers in or doing other things with them. And then if we kind of look down the side of the truck, you can tell that it is a long bed. That is an 8-foot bed. So, you know, back in the 60s, they did have kind of the shorter beds. They did have the side step beds. Then they had the 8-foot beds. And that's kind of special to the camper series, because back then you could slide an 8-foot camper into the back of the bed or into the Custom series. And you could go camping and explore the world that way, because that was kind of how, you know, old school overlanding was done. But if we come back to the side, we have the stock antenna. And then we do have these mirrors. Now, these are not the stock mirrors. The stock mirrors at one point kind of sat up here, and there was another bolt right here, and they were just kind of small. I'm very thankful that when the previous owners replaced the mirrors, that they did it nicely, and they sealed off these holes from the old mirrors, so that, you know, there weren't gaping holes and stuff. And these mirrors look pretty good. You know, they're pretty strong. This is solid metal, and the mirrors can be rotated to where I need them, and it works great. And then you have another design feature that happened when they changed over in 68 and 69, was that the handles, you then got a button on the door. Before, it was just a handle, and you pulled the handle, it opened the door, and it just had a lock. There was no button. In these years, you have the button that you press, it opened, you know, kind of like a more modern day car, where you either pull the handle, or if it still has a button, you press it, it opens the door. You pull it open. And it works really well. And all the chrome and stuff that are on the truck, it's all original, and it is all in pretty good shape. And you do have little Easter eggs that, you know, from the Chrysler company that are kind of hidden here. It looks like they painted it black there. And then you have one on the other side as well. And then if you look at these doors are big. You know, it looks like the same size on another, you know, on modern day trucks, but when you open it up, it is huge. It swings open really wide. You have lots of window, like the whole window is visible, and then you have the windows that move, and, you know, it rolls down. Good old crank windows. And like an old truck, you kind of got to slam the door a little bit to get her to close. And then if we come back along here, along the bed, she's in pretty straight shape. You know, there's not a lot of little dents and stuff in it. And then you have these wood slats. Now these wood slats, I do believe the original owner made and put back here to kind of give it that retro look. I enjoy it. I think they look pretty good. They do need to be sanded down and re-stained and kind of cleaned up because they are weathered and worn. And then you have the top. Now yes, it is metal, but it's kind of like a textured painted metal, and they did have it white. And then you have the trim that went around it, and there's no rust within this trim whatsoever, which is very, very rare to find in one of these old Dodges like this, because the old Dodges have, you know, kind of become like a rare find. They don't really exist too much, and when you find them, they're either completely rusted down or they're in like really pristine shape and expensive. And we'll get into what, you know, kind of what I paid and everything like that towards the end of this video. Alright guys, now we're at the back of the truck, and on the tailgate, it is the original tailgate that's got the words Dodge across it. You can, you know, when you can tell that someone kind of painted it white, put a little bit of speckled white over it, that kind of helped bring back out the Dodge logo because it is faded way over the years. And then if you see, this bed is huge, and then you can tell it's an 8-foot bed because the tires are further back. And the bed's in pretty good shape, don't get me wrong. This has got the most surface rust is in the back of the bed, but there's no major like rust spots that need to be cut out in the bed. And the top of the bed, you know, there's a few little dents and stuff, but it's still there. And then the bed still does open with the handle, and it all works great. And so we can put a lot of things in this bed, and the bed's in pretty good shape, guys. Like, to be honest with you, for being, what, 55, 56 years old, this truck is in really good shape in the bed. A lot of times you find holes or people put wood slats. This is all original still back here. Alright, so the one thing that is missing from the back, guys, is the bumper. I do not have the bumper. They do have a tow hitch on the back, and it's a very nice tow hitch, but they do not have the bumper back here. So that is one thing I am going to have to try and find, because I do want to put a bumper on the back of this. Whether it's kind of one that's slinged up, you know, slick up to the truck, or actually has a step on it. But I am going to be trying to find as close to an original bumper as I can for the back of this truck. So let's go to the other side. There's one thing I want to show you over there because we got a little better lighting. And then we're going to go in the cab, and I can show you what it's like to be in that cab. Alright guys, so now we're here in the cabin of the truck, and they have taken really, really, really good care of the inside of this. Like, they had the seat redone, and they had the custom logo put into the seat, which is really nice. And the seat's actually pretty comfortable. Don't get me wrong, there's probably some springs that are worn out, but when they redid the seat, it's really comfortable. And the seat belts are in good shape, and there is no rust in this cabin whatsoever, which is so, so rare. Like, the floorboards are in perfect shape. Yes, there's a little bit of surface rust, but there's no massive rust. But when we're in here, it is actually really comfortable, and everything works in here. So we do still have the massive steering wheel from 1969. I actually really like this steering wheel, and it's in great shape. There's no real breaks in the steering wheel at all. And then you have the dash, and the dash is in perfect shape. Now, one thing about this vehicle, back in 69 and some of the other years, you know, you had different types of transmissions for these. So you could either have the automatic transmission, the floor speed transmission, you know, had the manual transmission on the floor, or you have what I have, which is 3 on the tree. So this is a 3-speed manual transmission shifter up on the column. And it's actually a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. There is no synchros for first gear, so to go into first gear, you do have to be at almost a complete stop. But otherwise, it shifts really nicely. It's really smooth. Yeah, there's probably some play, some fixing it. But it's really smooth. And yes, there's a lot of play in the steering wheel. You get that old car play in the steering wheel. But it is really fun to drive. Now, if we move to the dash, yes, it's a little dusty in here. I haven't cleaned it completely in here yet. All the gauges do work. Now, you do get that old car bouncing speedometer gauge. It kind of bounces around as you're driving. And the fuel gauge doesn't quite read accurate. It never wants to tell you it's full. So it's like a quarter of a tank off on everything. So when it hits E, you have about a quarter of a tank, and you have to kind of guess when you might run out of gas. Or if you want to play it safe, you fill it up. Now, the gas tank is in the cabin. It is behind this seat. It is an 18.5 gallon tank that does fill up just outside the driver's side door, but it is in the cabin, and that was normal for the trucks back then. It is a little weird, I will admit, to be driving with the gas tank right behind you in the seat. I'm very much used to them being outside. That's something that we may change later on in the future, but things like this light still works, as you can tell. Putting it on kind of like a feature where if you opened up the door and stuff, they didn't really have that back then. So it's kind of on or nothing. But the rest of it, in here, the roof is really nice. They put this kind of liner on it. I bet it was to help protect the roof and give it, some kind of different aesthetics for in here. And it's really nice. Now here on the doors, both the doors have the stock plastics are still on here. The window white winders still work. They both work, and they have the famous old door. You can turn this for your airflow for in here, because this truck does not have AC. There is no AC in this truck whatsoever. It does have a blower in here that can bring air in from outside, and it does have a heater element in it, so that is nice, because being here in Colorado, like I said, it's 27 degrees out here, and we're filming. The fact that I can flip this little switch right here and it'll turn on the heater and it'll blow it, create warm air in here, it's really helpful. But everything works. The emergency flashers work, the windshield wipers, the lights, and the choke. Now, the previous owner tuned the carburetor and everything just right, that the choke is not needed to be messed with. It can actually be completely closed off for the most part, so that's really helpful. And you do have the key here in the dash. And the parking brake, which is a massive lever that you have to really pull up to get it engaged. So you do have the parking brake here. It is, it is done upright, and you have to put a lot of effort into trying to pull it, get it, because once it's up, that thing locks this truck in place. It's not going anywhere. And one feature from the 60s that this truck still has that, like a lot of other modern day cars kind of still have, they don't necessarily have the part, but it does have this cigarette lighter still in here. And it is a little smaller than your typical cigarette lighter, so I haven't checked it yet to see if it's got power. But if it does, we may be turning that into something as like a charge station for my phone or something like that. It does. The previous owner did put this little cup holder system in here. It's not screwed in. He has it kind of locked in with some sticky tape. So it can be removed. For now, it works, and it's pretty stable, so I may keep it for right now just because it is a place to put something. But yeah, everything in here is great. The glove box is still there with the word Dodge on it, and you have this little slot right here. Now, this little slot is where the radio should have been. There is no radio in this truck. Eventually, I will put a radio in here. I have to get kind of behind the dash a little bit to see what it all looks like, because I have not dug through the dash because I didn't have my tools for the longest time because we had just moved. So eventually we will get in there and we'll kind of see what it all looks like. But for the most part, guys, this dash is in perfect shape. There's no cracks, there's no chips in it, and the inside of the cabin is it is a pretty comfortable place to be. Now, the door seals are old, they're worn out. This thing does let some cold air in as you're driving, so those need to be taken care of. But otherwise, it is really comfortable in here, and it is loud. But in here, guys, it's an old 60s truck. Eventually, maybe some sound dampening and some insulation in places will be used, and it'll make it a little bit quieter. Alright, guys, and the one feature I didn't point out on the other side, because the light was a little hard to see it, is the exhaust. Now, this has got straight pipes, dual exhausts that come off, and yes, they stopped it before the tire. And the truck sounds really good. Now, the previous owner probably had some kind of tip on it. He took it off when he sold the truck. That's alright. I want to eventually, you know, I'll either put a tip on it, or for what my plans are, which I'll discuss in a little bit, this all may disappear. But for now, I do have twin exhausts. They sound really great. It makes the truck sound really throaty, and I've actually really been enjoying it lately. What do I have planned for the truck? Well, several things. This is a project truck, though I am gonna, you know, continue to drive it and have it on the channel and things like that. This is a project truck. There are lots of different things running in my head for ideas. One of it is, eventually, she is gonna get painted. And I know I'm gonna make a lot of people that are like, oh, the patina, and don't mess with it. Yeah, I'm gonna paint it eventually. Not yet, it'll probably be in a few years. But she is going to get painted, and I think I know what color I want to paint it. I'm not going to share that with you guys just yet, because I'm still debating. But eventually she is going to get some paint done to her. Some other things. We are going to, like I kind of said, we're going to get rid of the wheels and tires. We're going to upgrade those a little bit, and we are definitely going to update the suspension. I would like to possibly take this up maybe about an inch in height, just so there's a little more clearance and the suspension works a little bit better. And the other thing that we are definitely going to do is we are going to put disc brakes on this all around, because this thing does not like to stop, and I really need it to stop. Some other things, kind of with the steering, we might upgrade to power steering. It would make it a lot more comfortable to drive. I'm kind of debating about that. I do like the Armstrong steering. At times it makes it, you know, kind of makes you appreciate having power steering. However, when I get into the Jeep after driving this, it is freaky. The Jeep steering wheel is much smaller, and it turns with just one finger. This will not turn with one finger. You got to crank it. So power steering in the future might be a thing. The other thing, the drivetrain. So we are going to eventually get rid of the 318, the 3-on-the-tree transmission. All of that's going to disappear soon, but eventually it will all disappear. And the debate is what to put in it. Now, I have two different ideas in mind. And, you know, I'd like your guys' opinion on what I should put in this. Should I go ahead and swap the 318 for a Hemi and make it like a 5-speed floor manual transmission coming out of the floor? Or the other idea I had was I could put a Cummins underneath the hood and make it like a 6-speed manual transmission coming out of the floor. I'm kind of debating which one, but I like your guys' thoughts, so put it in the comments below, what everyone has to say. But those are some ideas I have for the drivetrain, because eventually I do want it gone. I need a more horsepower, more modern drivetrain within this thing. And then, kind of like I said, we're just going to kind of do some minor upgrades. So eventually, like some parts of the dash, I may not replace it, but we will get the components to kind of fix the parts that aren't working all the way, like some of the gauges, tightening them down, may have to do some fixing. And the other big thing is the gas tank is not going to stay in the cabin of the truck. It is eventually going to end up underneath the bed, like a more modern day truck. Kind of like the modern day truck that's off to the side right there. It's kind of funny, isn't it? So which one, guys, do you prefer? The old 69 or the 2023 Eco Diesel over there? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the 69. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't been to the channel, please check out some of the other videos, like and subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhino Exploration. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhino Exploration. Fucking Christ. And it makes them more sleek. Okay, stop it. That makes it stand out. Okay, I don't like any of what you're doing. Alright, so under the hood. Okay. So under the hood, guys.